live album is out now. You can listen to this uplifting music on Spotify, Apple Music, and many streaming platforms. Every Sunday, the place to be is Worship Harvest Nalia. It's for you who loves the progi. Now I got a vibe. Join us for our in-person service here at Worship Harvest Nalia.
For the grace of God that brings salvation has appeared to all men.
Your kids will love it too. Come have fun with us. It's a space to build your faith, hang out, and make new friends. We are looking forward to seeing you next Sunday at Worship Harvest Nalia, 9 a.m. Victory live album is out now. You can listen to this uplifting music on Spotify, Apple Music, and many streaming platforms. Every Sunday, the place to be is Worship Harvest Nalia. It's Worship Harvest Nalia, 9 a.m.
Enjoy your week.
live album is out now. You can listen to this uplifting music on Spotify, Apple Music, and many streaming platforms.
You started. It's not time to give up. It's not time to give it. The one who walks with you is faithful.
Every Sunday, the place to be is Worship Harvest Nalia. It's for you who loves the progi. Now I got a vibe. Join us for our in-person service here at Worship Harvest Nalia.
For the grace of God that brings salvation has appeared to all men.
Your kids will love it too. Come have fun with us. It's a space to build your faith, hang out, and make new friends. We are looking forward to seeing you next Sunday at Worship Harvest Nalia, 9 a.m.
Enjoy your week. Hello. Welcome to the Global Shepherds Hour. This is Mo. Let us know if you can hear us loud and clear. Let's see who are the good people who have joined us today. This is the very first one where we're going public. We have already been doing the Global Shepherds Hour, but only for Worship Harvest leaders, and for the first time we've decided to go public. Why have we gone public? I've been running into a lot of pastors, especially in different places, different countries, different parts of Uganda, who have been telling me that they are following us and they are trying out the things we are doing, and that the things we are teaching them are working. And so I thought, if it's working for other churches, why limit it to Worship Harvest leaders only? So that's why we've gone live with Global Shepherds Hour in different places. Now, let me see who's here. Please let me know what you lead and what church you're from, so that I know how to celebrate you. Pastor B3 is here. I know what she leads and what church she's from, so I don't have to struggle with that too much. Good to see you, Pastor B3. Pastor Stephen Senyonjo from Worship Harvest Nakawa, Pastor Fiona Mlira, Worship Harvest Downtown, Benjamin Wesugwa, all the way from Malaysia, good to see you. Lynette Mihira, good to see you. Daniel Kalamuka, Esther Fortnite Mulunji, Pastor Ronald Wampamba, yes, let us know where you're watching us from, what you lead, and then I'm going to be celebrating different people here. Pastor Rebecca Mahande from Worship Harvest No Brain Freeze. What's that place called? Chibuye. What a shock. Pastor Tina Manamazi, Worship Harvest Makindye. Pastor Julius Kanyamunyu joining us from Canada. Florence Rengabo, I know you're joining us from. Gigi H. Murunji Elder, congratulations on a new baby. Baron Okuba must be joined. That's Worship Harvest Nalia. Assumpta Naigaga, good to see you. Shalak Gabi, you're always on all the broadcasts, so good to see you. Let me see, Kazura Wilson, yeah, Masaka, Worship Harvest Masaka. Great people, I tell you what, great things are happening in Worship Harvest Masaka. Dr. Joshua Waiswa, Pastor Kathy Waiswa, thank you. Dr. Joshua sent me pictures of what God is doing in Masaka. Worship Harvest Masaka has taken off. I celebrate your leadership. I want, in a very special way, to celebrate and thank the Worship Harvest Kigali team for hosting us through the weekend. Many of us got there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I got home, stepped on the weighing scale, and it said, one at a time. Thank you so much, Worship Harvest Kigali. Thank you so much, Pastor Joy Mbera and Papa Lisa Innocent Mbera. Thank you. The Worship Harvest Kigali Zonal pastors, Pastor Yvette, Pastor Melody, Pastor Grace, Pastor Enoch, Diana, Grace, thank you so much. You did that so well. If you haven't yet shared the link, please share this link. Someone's ministry may depend on it. God has put a love for the church in my heart, and that's most of what I care about now after my wife and children. The church, the growth of the church, evangelism, discipleship, missions, church planting, community transformation, all of that. So thank you for joining us. Pastor James Sterling Mwendo from Abundance Peculiar Church, Kireka, good to see you. Pastor Anthony Biru from Worship Harvest Kungu, Pastor Paul Kazibe from Worship Harvest Mukono, Nathan Ariko Ogwang, Levi MC Lira, Worship Harvest Lira. Wow, people are joining us from Lira. Elder Jeremy Ayazuka, good to see you. Pastor Ron Matheson joining us from Wairaka team. We send you greetings. Thank you. Pastor Chris and Pastor Lynette at Worship Harvest Mukono and the All Nations Network. We are preparing for a double mega gathering this Saturday at the new Worship Harvest Mukono Cathedral. If you haven't registered, you're the only one. We are starting at 6 o'clock. It's going to be a wonderful day. That building, we started building it in, is it May or something? April, when Pastor M was here. And now, we are going to be using it. So we thank God. I want to thank all of you who have participated in Arise and Build and Buy the Land. This is the first Global Shepherds hour that is going live. So we are going to take some time to keep celebrating people. I hope that's okay with you. Pastor Ivy Napo, Pastor Ivan Prince Obalo, Worship Harvest in Zambia, Pastor David Ankunda, Nations Church, Makere, good to see you. Reigns Revisa, Worship Harvest Downtown. Who else do we have here? Pastor Philip Tasobia from Ginger. David Mugabe, that's my person, is about to launch on that road to Zimbabwe. Timothy Waimaga, Worship Harvest Iganga. Pastor Sandra Chirunda, Worship Harvest Iganga. Pastor Doreen Miti, the president of WUFA, Worship Harvest United Flocals Association. Good to see you. All our friends in the mentorship who are joining us, thanks for joining us. We will soon be going to, that should be, Set a Miracle Center this afternoon for our mentorship meeting. That's where it's going to happen. We're looking forward to being there with Pastor Arthur or team. Well, if I only send greetings and don't do any teaching, I will have done you injustice. Yeah, I have here with me a team that's helping me. I want to appreciate them. Jetty and the band, Jonathan Onyango, Mrs. Ruth Murr, take note of the Mrs. part, Mrs. Vieira Tusubira. Hey, God is doing mighty things in this church. My God, now everyone is called Mrs. in quick succession. Mr. Eddie Mwita, who is about to do something to create a Mrs. in the process. Anyway, what a blessing. Pastor Dora Okuja from Worship Harvest Mukono Central, good to see you and everyone. Now, let's get into today's message. What did I want to share in the spirit of this whole thing that we are trying to do? When we went to Kigali for the gathering, for the Worship Harvest Kigali gathering, a lot of people came from WUFA, the Worship Harvest United Flocals Association. We had network leaders there and a lot of people from Kigali. And what was surprising for me is that we had some of our friends in the mentorship, like Apostle Moses Kalanzi and his wife, Pastor Henry Mosana, and Pastor Victor and others come all the way to Kigali. I was very, very challenged. And while in Kigali, I had a really good story, and let me tell it to you. There's a friend, a pastor who started following us from the Western Gathering. He came to the Pastors of Thousands training in the Western Gathering, and then was there for the Western Gathering. And then he started following us, and he came for Transform. Now, the Western Gathering was 2 weeks before Transform. Now, This wonderful man of God has been leading the church for about 2 years when they launched. And this church was stuck at 50 people, 50 members attending on Sunday, okay? And then he comes to the Pastors of Thousands training and the Western gathering. He was there just for a little bit of the time. But he says when he left, he went and started implementing the things we talked about. And he became hungry for growth. He says that by the time he came to transform, the attendance at his church had gone to 100. From 50 to 100 in 2 weeks. And when he saw that, he decided that he's going to become a Mutasuga like the Wufa people. So he came to Kigali to give me that testimony that God was already working. The other thing, he said that he could never leave the church, either him or his wife. The wife would do the worship and he does the preaching. If his wife went anywhere to visit or anything on a Sunday, he had to be there. If he went anywhere, the wife had to be there. The church was totally dependent on them. And he says now they can go away and the church works. And they will come back and find things working wonderfully. And I thanked God so much for that testimony, because it means that something is working that we are sharing with you. So may God bless you as we get into this. And today, since we are setting the tone for the Global Shepherds Hour, I wanted us to talk about following. The power of following. The power of following. The power of following. Okay. Because, look, anyone following themselves is going to take a very long time to get anywhere. I've noticed that the people who do great things and move forward quickly and accomplish much follow someone. I'm here on this Global Shepherds Hour. I'm sharing what I'm sharing with you, and whatever is happening around me is happening because I realize I've been on a journey of following. All right. I followed Andrew Womack and learned about grace and faith and how to teach from the Bible. Without following Andrew Womack, this thing would have been finished long ago. I followed Mike Breen and learned about discipleship and missional communities and how to create a discipling culture in a church. Without following Mike Breen, there is no worship harvest. If I hadn't followed Andrew Womack, we would have finished long ago because my marriage was in trouble. What literally turned my marriage around was the discipleship evangelism course by Andrew Womack and Don Kroll. And then the church turned around. I remember those days, the miracles that were happening as we did discipleship evangelism course. And then we followed Mike Breen. Today, Worship Harvest has more than 1,000 missional communities, leading more than 500 people to Christ every week and serving close to 1,000 frontiers every month, discipling a total of 18,000 people. Why? Because I followed a man. I followed a man who had been there before me, who knew what they were doing. Then a time came and we started dreaming about church planting. And we followed Association of Religious Churches, ARC. We followed New Thing. They trained us, they showed us, and we started planting churches. And when you get into church planting, you quickly realize you need leaders, and we didn't have a systemized way to develop and raise leaders. And we followed John Maxwell. Out of that came the Harvest Institute and all these good things. And we are continuing to go on, to move forward, to make things happen through HI. Why? Because of following John Maxwell. I'm a John Maxwell team member, and I'm not ashamed about it. You know, some of you, you only want your name to be the one that is talked about. That's going to limit you. Why am I telling you about all this people? There is nothing like self-made. I'm not self-made. You're not self-made. We are all here because a lot of people have paved the way for us. And I hope you understand what I'm talking about. So I followed John Maxwell, and I've learned how to coach, how to train leaders, how to deploy leaders, how to create leadership systems that work. And then lately, I've followed Bishop Doug. Without following Bishop Doug, we wouldn't be where we are. In the last 2 years of following Bishop Doug, it's like all the things we had organized, we are ready for this extreme fuel from Bishop Doug. Prayer, leadership, aligning the church, a culture of honor, loyalty, and just, doing things and focusing on the church. Because while I followed all the other people and they helped me, I'd never found someone as passionate about the Church of Jesus Christ as Bishop Doug. And following Bishop Doug has delivered the passion for church into my heart. And I now consider it a great, great honor and privilege to do anything in the Church of Jesus Christ, let alone add some value to people. So in the last 2 years, everything here has grown 5 times. We've grown from a membership of 4,000 members to about 24,000. From people in our missional communities who were about 3,000 to now 18,000. Our church attendance has gone up from about 3,000 people to 15,000 across all the different churches. We've gone from 18 churches to 60. Now I'm starting to find problems counting before we reach 100. Lord have mercy. To 64 churches. All of this by just following a man of God. You see, don't be too proud to say that you can't follow. The only reason you're going where you're going is that you're using a road that was built by someone else. Right now we are broadcasting this from Nalia, but if you wanted to go from Nalia to Chaliwajara, and Chaliwajara is the next town from here, and you decided that this road that was built, everyone is using the same road. For you, you're too innovative to use that road. How can you be found using a road that was built so long ago? So you start cutting through the bushes and the neighborhood to cut your own road to go to Chaliwajara. We will have gone 1,000 and 10,000 times before you reach, just because you're too proud to follow. Bishop Oyedepo said something interesting. He said that we walk by common sense, we run by discipline, but we fly by instruction. We walk by common sense, we run by discipline, but we fly by instruction. For a child to learn to walk, they need to have common sense. They just look at all these adults who are walking around and they ask themselves, why am I stuck to the ground? Why am I crawling? There must be something up there. And then you start trying to stand up, and before you know it, you're walking. It's common sense. Now, if you're going to win the Olympics or even participate, it can't be by common sense. It's by discipline. Discipline. Discipline, discipline, practice, toning, getting ready. That's what you do when you're going to go into the Olympics. You work hard at your discipline. So we walk by common sense, but we run by discipline. If you don't have disciplines in your life, you can't go far. But when it comes to flying an aircraft, you can't do it by common sense, and you can't do it by disciplines. It's only by instructions. Someone in the control tower tells you where to go, where to turn, what altitude to be on. If you put away those headphones that the pilots use and say, I think I can figure it out, you're going to crash and you're going to kill a lot of people. The only way to fly is by instruction. Could it be that your life is not at the right altitude, or you're not moving at the right speed, or you're not where you could have been by now because you lack instruction? Could it be that your ministry is not growing? Your missional community is stuck and small, and the few members are leaving. Your location is barely moving forward. Your church is not accelerating because you lack instruction. Next time, remember, when it comes to flying, it's by instruction. Jesus told Peter, the apostle, in John, let me read it. It should be in John chapter 20. And welcome those who've just joined us. This is the Global Shepherds Hour. It's gone public now. It was previously for only Worship Harvest leaders, missional committee leaders and pastors, but now it's available for you. And so we thank God for that. So Jesus tells John in, not John, Peter, in John 21, okay? Verse 18, it says, most assuredly I say to you, when you were younger, you guarded yourself and walked where you wished. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hand, and another will guard you and carry you where you do not wish. When you were younger, you did whatever you want. When you are older, which is when you are mature, you don't do whatever you want. When you're mature, maturity is doing the things that you don't want, but someone else guides you there. That's maturity. In fact, when you go into this verse deeper into it, when you say to guard, because the girdle is the belt, and the Bible talks about the belt of truth in Ephesians chapter 6. You may find that, for me, honestly, I had my own theological persuasions and convictions about so many things. But in following these men of God, in following Andrew Womack, in following Mike Brain, in following John Maxwell, in following Bishop Doug, in following different people, I've had to put aside sometimes what I think is the best interpretation of my theology and follow someone who has better results than I do. Because Jesus said, you know them by their fruit, not by their doctrine. You may be clinging on to a doctrine which you are convinced is the truth, but there is no fruitfulness in it. How do you know that your seeds are good? By the fruit they bring. If you're plowing and working, but your church is not growing, could it be there is something you're doing wrong? Could it be there is someone else you need to follow? Could it be that you need to follow someone else's way of looking at the scriptures? And that will give you the results, the fruit. Because at the end of the day, it's about people getting saved and being discipled and being sent out to plant churches. I'm telling you, my brother, my sister, your lack of following is your biggest limitation, whether you know it or not. It's your biggest limitation. I have seen a little bit in ministry, and I can now, I regret why I didn't know this truth earlier. This business of innovating. Innovation is overrated. Do you realize that all the cars are the same? All the cars, 4 wheels, a spare tire, steering wheel, speedometer, odometer, fuel gauge, temperature gauge, gear lever, windows at passenger seats, red lights at the back, headlamps. Like, they just keep changing the name at the front. Toyota, Nissan, Mitsubishi, Mercedes, Subaru, Citroen, Peugeot, Ferrari, name it. But when you get it down, it's the same function. Accelerator pedal, brake pedal, and if manual, clutch pedal. The same. These guys, they copy each other. That's why they make cars and we grow potatoes. It's the same. I'm sure you understand. And follower. And decide that. And you know, when you're a follower, that shows your maturity. Some people think maturity is being independent and doing whatever you want. That's not maturity. In fact, one of these days when you get responsibility, you'll understand the limitation of responsibility. The kind of things that responsibility puts upon you. When you get married, you'll understand that, you know, some people think they got married to get free. They don't know they got married to get limitations. They are not limitations, they are boundaries. Boundaries are great limitations. But I'm talking about following, and I'm going to stick with my script. So, following is extremely important. Look at what Jesus tells the disciples in Mark 1. Mark 1 verse 16 and 17. It says, "And as he walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and Andrew his brother casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. Then Jesus said to them, 'Follow me, and I will make you become fishers of men.'" Follow me, and I will make you become fishers of men. Fishers of men. Wow. Now, follow me, I will make you become. Jesus has set up a method for becoming. And the method he gave the disciples was to follow him, and he would make them become fishers of men. Now, fishers of men, it may sound obvious to you, but these guys, all they ever knew how to do was fish. So you could extend this to say, there are things you know. There are things you know now. You know that your current state of life is as a result of the volume of knowledge you possess. The amount of money you have right now is just a reflection of how much you know about money. The state of your marriage is a reflection of how much you know about marriage. The state of your ministry is a reflection of how much you know about ministry. Okay, so whatever it is, wherever you are, where you are in your workplace is a reflection of what you know. You didn't study medicine and now you're flying a jet. No. People who fly jets, they studied piloting. People who treat patients, they studied medicine. So don't get confused about it. Whatever it is, wherever you are, at whatever level you are, it's as a result of the volume of knowledge that you possess. I hope you are clear on that. Now, having said that, knowing that, then you ask yourself, okay, do you want to go somewhere with your life? Do you want to go higher in ministry, at work, in your family, in your marriage, with your finances, etc.? Do you know what? There has to be a shift in how things work internally for you to do that. And Jesus said the way it works, because these people up to now, they were fishing fish. And it's like, I'm going to turn you into a completely different thing. Because, look, I mean, they didn't ask, but fishers of men, where are the men in the lake? Do we use nets? Do we use hooks? What? Jesus was talking about a much higher thing, which, if you are just reasoning at reasoning level, doesn't make sense. Because it makes sense to us now because we've been Christians, we've read this verse before, and we know that it means evangelism, discipleship, turning people to Jesus. But if you are a fisherman and you've just finished fishing, and someone put in the water and we're going to be getting them out, but of course that's not what Jesus was talking about. But he says, for you to become this other thing you have never been before, what you're going to do is follow me. You're going to follow me. That's the method I have chosen. Following was Jesus' method of training people. Following will turn you into another person. Following will get you speeding up and getting ahead of everyone else. Do not delay to follow. The longer you take to follow, the longer you take to get where you need to go. If you follow the right person, if you follow the right people, Bible talks about following people like Jesus. Bible talks about following the church, following people's faith, following people's doctrine, following people's manner of life. The following is going to get you ahead of everyone. I promise you. Of course, you should be careful who you follow. In 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 10 to 11, Paul wrote to Timothy and said, "But you have carefully followed my doctrine, carefully followed. Some people want to follow carelessly. Some people want to follow frivolously. Some people want to follow casually. It says you have carefully followed my doctrine. That is my teaching. Give us the Passion Translation and we see what it says. Let's look at it in the Passion Translation. You have carefully followed. But you, Timothy, have closely followed my example and the truth that I've imparted to you. The truth that I have imparted to you. Back to KJV, NKJV. It says you have carefully followed my doctrine. What do you follow in a person? So you decided, okay, I'm going to follow person XYZ. And again, there had better be a person worth following. If you follow someone who is slower than you, they will slow you down. So you should only follow someone who is quicker than you, so that they pull you up to speed. The reason I follow Bishop Dag, he has 4,000 churches in 94 countries. Here at Worship Harvest, we have only planted 64 in 5 countries. So I have 89 countries to catch up, and about 3,900 and something churches. Wow. Yeah. You know, some things you hear and you either feel inspired or discouraged. You choose which side you fall. But when you follow someone quicker than you, it means they are going to pull you up to speed. If you follow someone who is slow because they're a good talker, they don't have results, they're going to slow you down. If you want to have a good marriage, follow people who have a good marriage. You can't get married, you want a good marriage, and then you continue to follow your single friends. It doesn't work. If you want to have some money, don't follow your broke friends. Follow someone who has some money. That's how you break out, so you can go back and help your broke friends if they follow you too. If you want to have a big church, don't follow someone who doesn't do church or who is into other things. Follow someone who has done it. If you want to have miracles, follow someone who has done miracles. Don't follow someone who doesn't believe in miracles while you want miracles. So, who you follow will determine the outcome. But it says you have carefully followed my doctrine. That's teaching. So one of the things to follow in a person is their teachings. The first, one of the easiest ways to follow someone is their teaching. Even here, I'm teaching on YouTube, and you're here listening because you are following, and may God fulfill all your heart's desire and give you that for which he has asked you to follow me. Like different pastors who have followed me and their churches have grown or they've multiplied. One of our friends, by the end of the year, towards the end of the year last year, in the last 1 year, their church has gone from 1 church to 13 churches within 1 year. Why? Because of following. So you follow someone's teaching. When you say you followed my doctrine, it's the teaching. What are they saying? You follow their words. You listen to their podcasts. You read their books. You watch their videos. You follow their teaching. That's information. And then it says you have followed my manner of life. You follow their way of life. Now, this is harder if you're not a close disciple. Because teaching you can follow from anywhere. You can go to church and listen. You can go to a conference. You can follow online on YouTube. You can read books. You can do podcasts. But when it comes to manner of life, you need to be close enough to the person to see how do they live. The things they teach, do they actually practice them? Because there are people who teach things that they don't practice. So once you become a teacher and people are following you, just know it's not enough to just teach and say things. It should also be their manner of life. By the way, we are going to use the last 10 minutes just to take questions, as many as I can. So you follow their teaching, you follow their way of life. How do they pray? How do they read the Bible? How do they treat their spouse? How do they handle their children? How do they handle their finances? How do they handle resistance? What do they do when they are angry, when they are hurt and broken? How do they respond to brokenness? How do they handle temptations? Because sometimes we only want to follow the good things, but not the hard things. My manner of life. To follow someone's manner of life, you must follow it must be close following. That's why we have missional committees in worship harvest. Because you can say you're following up more, but up more has put in place, by the grace of God, a system where you can follow a person, your missional community leader, you can follow their manner of life, and I hope it is worth following. Because you can't copy from a distance. You can listen from a distance, but you can't copy from a distance. All right. Then the third thing is to follow purpose. Purpose. Their purpose. What are they about? Once you become a serious follower, you will need to shift some of your purposes. I was into many things, into business coaching, investments, finance. Says, look, I'm a financial guru. I can advise you on investments, etc. But when I started following Bishop Dag, I realized that I needed to put most of my focus on the church. And I only do these things in as far as there's church involved. I need my members to be able to handle their money well. I need to help my leaders grow and all of that. But my purpose has shifted. So you can't say you follow someone, but you are on to other things. The reason we are all followers of Jesus is because our purpose has to line with his. It's so funny how people say they follow Jesus, but they don't like the church. Have you heard that lie? That I love Jesus, but I have problems with the church. That's like saying you love someone, but you hate their wife. If you try to follow someone and you hate their wife, it's not going to work. So in following Christ, I must be passionate about the church, because it says, I will build my church. That's what he's doing. He's building the church. He didn't say, I'll build my NGO. He didn't say, I'll build my business. He didn't say, I'll build my school, whatever it is. I will build my church. Now, all those things I've talked about are essential and necessary. Essential and necessary. But they were not the key purpose of Jesus. So, while I'm doing all these things, I have to make sure that front and center for me is the church. My faith. It says you have followed my faith. How do you follow someone's faith? He says, whose faith follow? I think that's in Hebrews 13:7. He says, remember those who rule over you, who have spoken the word of God to you, whose faith follow, considering the outcome of their conduct. How do you follow someone's faith? You consider the outcome. The outcome. The outcome. All right? 2 Timothy 3:10. To follow someone's faith, you consider the outcome. In other words, you have to say, if this person by faith has attained this, I should be trying to attain the same thing by faith. You can't say you are following someone's faith and their faith is maybe to take care of 1,000 orphans, and for you it's to take care of one. No, you're not following the same faith, because faith delivers results. So if you're following someone's faith, you are following their kind of results. I hope I'm making sense. So following someone's faith is to follow their results. You should actually desire to accomplish what they have accomplished by faith. By faith, I hope that we can plant 3,000 churches at this, because Bishop Dag has done it. By faith, I hope we can have a serious Bible college, because Bishop Dag has done it. By faith, I hope we can have serious crusades, because Bishop Dag does it. By faith, I hope we can have, equipping pastors, books and methods and ways of just helping the church, the pastors, because the local church is the answer to the world's pain. But the local church can't lead itself. Pastors. And so we have to work hard to make sure that we encourage pastors, because pastors get discouraged. Pastors face all sorts of problems and discouragement and resistance and not being appreciated and all of that. So someone has to come along and say, don't quit, because what you do matters. So to follow someone's faith is to follow their results. Long suffering. To follow their patience. You know, some things you not see without patience. Their love, their perseverance, persecutions, afflictions. And he talks about all of these, out of which the Lord delivered him. So, you want to become something you've never been before. Follow a person before you. And I hope this makes sense to you. It does make so much sense to me. I've seen my life change so dramatically by following people. Paul told the Corinthians, imitate me as I imitate Christ. Imitate me as I imitate Christ. The person you're following should be imitating Christ. He didn't tell them, imitate Christ. He says, imitate me just as I also imitate Christ. He told Timothy, the things you have heard from me among many witnesses, commit this to faithful men and women who will be able to teach others also. All right, let's take some questions. You have a question about following? Because following is the divinely inspired way to accelerate. Let's take questions. So, if you have a question, you type it, and then I'll try and answer. Thank you for your comments. Maria Peggy, I see you there. Pastor Doreen Miti, Pastor B3, Pastor Philip Tasovia. Thank you, our hosts, Ronald Ocho and Pastor Ann Nyombi. Any questions? Tayeba Bruno Businge says he likes the teaching, best lunch he has had in years. Thank you. Pastor Rebecca Mande, thank you. Yeah, questions. We are taking them live. Live questions. John Maxwell wrote a book, Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. Thank you, Kate Shambilo. Thank you for leading CIA Missional Community. Yes, we are taking questions. Following. People are still commenting. I'm reading through until I see a question. Pastor Angela Okulo, good to see you there. Chirabo asks, does following include changing my favorite color to theirs? What is following that? I don't know. Maybe not, maybe. It depends. Yeah, but if you follow someone, by the way, you follow them because you love them. So you love what they do. And so you like what they wear. I like wearing some of the stuff that Bishop Doug wears. So yeah, it may include or may not. So it depends. But when you genuinely love a person, yeah. You know why all the young people, they try and dress poorly, like all these musicians who dress poorly? Because they are following them. So if the people in the world are setting the trends for people, did I say dress or undress? Okay, one of the two, depending on where the line is drawn. So it shows that they admire them to take them. So if you admire someone, why not? Yeah, let me see. I'm taking questions. What's the limit, the number of people to follow to achieve healthy results? Asks Miriam Moroni. That's a good question. I think that the truth is always in the middle. If you follow only one person, you may end up being one-sided. By the grace of God, He will give you many people to follow. But again, if you follow too many people, you will not become anything. My experience has been that I've followed different people through different seasons. Now, it doesn't mean that I throw away what I learned before. Look, Worship Harvest is still running missional committees. We still teach the grace and faith. We still run leadership. So we add on to what we've learned before. We are still planting churches. So following Bishop Doug doesn't mean we quit following other people, but it's been a 16-year period, and I'm talking about maybe only 5 people. So it shouldn't be that you are following too many people. Paul told the Corinthians, you may have 10,000 instructors, but you have only one. But you have few fathers. Few fathers, many instructors. Let me see. Any other questions? What a blessing. Thank you. Spirit Life Miracle Ministries International. Good to see you. I know that's Pastor Diba. Muiz Elijah, how do you be a good follower but also remain innovative? Like I'm following a farm of pigs around diversity. Yes. How do you do it? You do it in series. So you start by imitation, then innovation. Innovation should only come after imitation. Every time you innovate before you imitate, you will not get results. So you imitate, then you innovate. If you are going to learn carpentry, someone needs to first show you what they are doing, and once you become a master of what they are doing, then you go and innovate and do it better than they've done it before. All right, let me see. What else? How do I follow the example of Abmo if I'm not very close to him? Asks Pastor B3. You follow the example of Abmo by following those who follow him. Paul told the Corinthians, he said, follow me, and he said, for this reason, in 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 15, 16, and 17 says, 1 Corinthians 4, therefore I urge you imitate me. Then in 17 he says, for this reason I have sent Timothy to you. So someone is telling you, imitate me, and then says, I have sent Timothy to you. In other words, in imitating Timothy, you'll be imitating me. So if you're not in utmost circle, you follow someone who is following him. Paul wrote and said that the things you heard from me among many witnesses, commit this to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. In others, there's Paul, that's 1. There's Timothy, that's 2. There's faithful people, that's 3. Others also, that's 4. So in a worship harvest location, if you are in the others also, you'll find that faithful Timothy's may be zonal pastors, and the location pastor will be a Paul. So there's always ways of doing it. Mwangu's Derek, I've already answered that question. Can you follow people? Yes, you can follow 2 different things about them. Maybe someone you're following their way of organizing things, and someone you're following their way of praying. Pastor Henry Musana asks, what happens if the one you are following crashes? Hey, how do you handle the disappointment? Yeah, that's why imitate me as I imitate Christ. If they crash, God will send you other people to follow. But you must practice grace. Why is it that you followed them in the first place? It means there was something they were doing well. And sometimes we don't know the kind of issues that men and women of God are fighting. And so I find that in the church we are a lot more judgmental than we ought to be. So yeah, if they crash, have grace, go and sit with them and console them and support them. What do you do if you try following and the person doesn't open the door for you? I don't know. First start by being in their general space, because many times you want to get into the inner circle when you have not been in the crowd. You'll never get into the inner circle if you have not been in the crowd. You'll never get into the inner circle if you have not been in the crowd. You'll get into the crowd, and then somehow you'll get into the 72, and then you might be called into the 12 and maybe the 3. Okay, let me see if I have more questions here. Is there a thing as eating meat and leaving the bones as far as following is concerned? Yes, there is. Maybe I don't understand your question. Everyone you follow is going to have some weaknesses. So don't copy the weaknesses. Just pick the good stuff. The way you eat fish. Eat the meat, leave the bones. Yeah. Following seems so intentional and expensive. How have you kept the pace, the cost? The Bible says about Jesus, who, that's Hebrews 12, yeah? Who for the word, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross and overcoming the shame. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, despising the shame, and are sat down at the right hand of God. When you think about the results, you'll pay the price. For me, once I start following someone, I'll go. One time we flew to the US and we needed to meet Mike Brain. We were late, so it was a lunch meeting. It was supposed to be 1 hour. We got there 30 minutes late. We had only 30 minutes, having driven 3 hours from one city to whichever city he was living in. But it was worth it. Those 30 minutes were worth it. Many times people don't even want to go to church, just going to physical garage, but they say they are following. You can't win. I've followed people to continents and places. So may God give you the spirit of a hard follower. Okay, as we start to get towards the end, this is not talking about doctrine. We are not talking about doctrine. We are talking about results. He said you shall know them by their fruit. So I don't follow doctrine. I follow. If you hear the person's teaching, you'll know. Following doesn't mean that you shouldn't read the Bible for yourself. You should be able to discern and say this is not right, this is wrong, and all of that. Now, friends, it's been real, and our time is up. Oh, too many questions. Yeah, if you go to my Facebook page, Moses Mukisa, and you ask these questions, I'll try as much as possible to answer them. Facebook or Twitter. My Twitter handle, Moses Mukisa. Facebook page, Moses Mukisa. And you ask these questions, I'll try and answer them. We do our streaming on YouTube because it's easier for us to navigate when it's live. But it's easier to answer questions on Facebook or on Twitter. So follow me on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter. At Moses Mukisa. That's my Twitter handle. And if you ask questions there, I'll try and answer them. In fact, let's use more Twitter. You know the issues we have with Facebook in Uganda. But if you use Facebook, I'll still drop in there and see if I can answer something. Thanks so much for joining us for this Global Shepherds Hour, the first public one of its kind. If you know any pastors in any country, anywhere, who I know will benefit from this teaching, as soon as we close, get the link and share it with them, because following is going to change their lives. God bless you so much, and thank you for joining us. See you soon. See you next Tuesday, same time, for the Global Shepherds Hour.